Welcome to Talking Property. Today I'm joined by Australia's best property analyst, Louis Christopher. Louis, thanks for joining us.
Nice to be with you, Peter.
Louis, SQM Research, your company, has entered the sphere as far as auction clearance rates goes.
Yes.
You've adopted a new methodology in the aim of increasing the accuracy that comes through auction clearance rates. Tell us a little bit about that, please.
Well, as a background, I think it's fairly common knowledge now that the preliminary clearance rates we see on a Saturday evening are not really reflective of the market. They're based on ever decreasing sample sizes. And one thing we know for sure is that those results that are not reported on the Saturday generally are failed campaigns.
What percentage would you say of the unreported campaigns tend to be failed campaigns?
We believe it's between it seems to be a range of between 70 to 90%.
Right, so the overwhelming majority.
The overwhelming majority of unreported on that day tend to be failed campaigns. So we've taken an approach that if we just wait for a few more days, so we're reporting on a Tuesday each week, we are actually able to get up to 100% of the auction results that took place. How we go about doing it fundamentally is that we're monitoring all the advertisements. And Peter, you would be aware that when you have placed an advertisement out there as a listing, if you get a sold result, you will change that advertisement from saying for sale to sold. Or if you were conducting an auction and the property did not sell, you would keep that advertisement on as for sale. So that's how we know what's actually happened, by looking at how the agents are changing their advertising. And most agents, as we've found, change their advertising after an auction event no later than 48 hours after the auction event. They will change their ad to reflect what's going on with that property right now.
So what other sorts of trickery are you seeing with the data that it's being manipulated to reflect what agents and data providers potentially wanted to say?
Well, it seems as though it's not just these unreported results, it's what's been stated as being scheduled for auction on the day. So we have been seeing properties that have sold after auction being reported as though it's sold at auction.
So days after the auction, not
weeks
immediately
after.
Weeks after.
Literally weeks after. I've seen many examples of where the property was scheduled to go to auction, say on the 1st of May, being reported only last weekend as sold under the hammer. Well,
yes.
No, that did not happen. It failed, and then its negotiations happened after the auction event and eventually sold. And what's happened is that agent's then gone to the reporting bodies and said, I sold this property under auction. And they didn't.
Is that widespread or is that isolated?
I would suggest that it's up to about 30% of properties that supposedly were scheduled that day were actually scheduled on previous days.
So 30% of the auction clearance rates that have been reported to date are fudged in some way?
Up to 30. It varies from weekend to weekend. And I want to be clear too, it's not the reporting bodies who are deliberately doing this. It's those who are reporting into the reporting bodies that really need to look at themselves.
Well, it's just a phenomenon that when the market's strong, agents seem very capable of getting a high reporting number through to the said bodies.
Yep.
And when the market's falling or soft, suddenly only the successful campaigns tend to get reported.
That's right. But this is the reason why we've gone down the path we have. We take the view, as mentioned, that if you just wait for a few days, agents cannot leave up an ad as is. They have to let people know what's actually happened to that property. It's in the vendor's interest, say if the property did not sell at auction, it's in the vendor's interest to let the world know that this property is actually still for sale.
Yes.
Right? And of course it's in their interest that if it did sell, they want to tell everybody that this property is no longer available and it's sold, and good on them. They actually made a sale. So that's why monitoring the ads actually really works, and that's why we are able to report just a few days later up to 100% of the results.
And what's the best way for consumers to follow this reporting, Louis?
Oh, all they have to do is come to our website.
And
that's a nice plug, sqmresearch.com.au.
So there you are.
We've got that on the front page of our website. All they have to do is one click and they see all the auctions. They can see all the properties coming up for auction as well, and all the aggregated stats.
Louis, thanks for joining us today. That was terrific information.
Thank you, Peter.
And thank you for joining us today on Talking Property.